What's going on, everybody? Jumping on here for a quick recap of the Steelers' win over the Jags in the preseason opener. Most Pittsburgh starters weren't dressed for this one, but it gave other guys some valuable reps to kind of show what they got. Also, we got our first glimpse of the Steelers' rookie class. That was kind of exciting. Just want to go through the positives, some negatives briefly before I get to go dive into some film this afternoon, which I am really, really excited about. Just before we get started, if you guys would drop me a like, sub, comment, all that stuff is greatly appreciated on my end. Thank you guys so much for the continued support on the channel. Overall, it was an interesting game. We even got a 70-yard field goal. We got to see Travis Hunter go both ways. But just first things first, man, like a clean operation for the most part. We talked about that a little bit in the preview. Just didn't want to see a bunch of turnovers, botched snaps, some of the things that plagued them last preseason. Just wanted to see it look pretty clean, and I think for the most part it did. They had 5 penalties, I think, on the night. Nothing too major, but we even got an opening drive touchdown. I mean, how about that? That was certainly a sight for sore eyes. It's been a while since Pittsburgh was a fast starting team. That's been something that we talked about in recent seasons. So it was good to see them come out of the gate strong offensively, especially you got your backup quarterback in there, but the Jags were playing, a lot of their starters. We saw Tyson Campbell, we saw Josh Hines-Allen, a lot of their bigger named, highly paid guys out there, and they were able to pretty much march right down the field and put points on the board. So from an injury standpoint, it sounds like they escaped like virtually injury-free as well. That's always a huge positive. I think the only guy that was mentioned from Tomlin in the postgame presser was Cam McCutcheon, who unfortunately had an interception wiped away as well due to a very questionable roughing the passer penalty, I felt like, from Isaiah Loudermilk. But McCutcheon's a guy, has good size, was somebody that I could definitely see them wanting to keep on the practice squad. It sounds like it's a soft tissue thing. We'll see how that affects his availability moving forward. But bummer on that front, but overall, really, really positive to not suffer any major significant injuries, especially to anybody that's going to be a heavy contributor in the regular season. But just first things first, I thought the quarterbacks both played extremely well. I thought Mason Rudolph played, very clean. So I think he hit his first 7 guys. It's definitely funny that the first play of the game, they ended up doing exactly what we talked about in the preview, which was get Robert Wilson involved, play action, little crossing route. Did a nice job playing through contact at the break point. Nice grab on Tyson Campbell, and then just getting him another touch on that little bubble screen as well. I just think that was really smart coaching. A guy like that, when your quarterback comes out and says this guy's in his head and needs to regain his confidence a little bit, and he's super talented. I think you get him the ball, let him get involved in the flow of the game. And it's important to remember Wilson didn't get the chance to play at all, really, in last preseason or really in the regular season as well. So this is really our first glimpse of him as well. So I just thought that was good coaching, getting him involved. I like seeing that for sure. But Mason in general just looked really crisp. I thought showed good accuracy. The first team offensive line was excellent. I really thought that the offensive line in general and pass pro throughout the game was very, very good. I mean, you look at the pocket on Mason's touchdown up the seam to Darnell. I mean, the tackles did a really nice job setting the width. The interior guys did a good job setting the dish. I mean, very, very clean from that perspective. Allow him to deliver a high throw to Washington away from the corner. So it was nice to see them, run the ball right down the field. And I just think Washington in general continues, what has been a really strong summer for him. I said it in my takeaways video when I got back from Lake Trobe that I thought that other than DK, he was the best offensive player that I saw there. So definitely encouraging for sure. Figuring out different ways to use him as a receiver. I've been begging for like more seam shots, and I think that both him, Freiermuth, even Jonnu, like those guys could definitely do this. So I'm interested to see their usage this upcoming season. But definitely an encouraging night. I thought both the tackles, like I said, Fautanu, Jones, both really clean and pass pro. I'm very interested to go back and watch the tape, especially on Fautanu. I think he had like one impact block in the run game as well, but. We'll talk a little bit about the run game as we kind of continue on through the video. But overall, Caleb Johnson, I thought he was decisive. Didn't do too much like pitter pattern behind the line of scrimmage. Ended up creating a little bit. I just think it looked the way it was supposed to look in terms of like running the ball when he actually had room. Did a nice job running his feet on contact as well. bounced the ball to the outside, had a nice stiff arm on Travis Hunter. And that's something, just having that burst to get to the edge, I think is definitely something that we've kind of been missing a little bit in Pittsburgh. For the good things that Najee Harris does, it's not really necessarily his game to get out there on the perimeter. So it was nice to see Caleb do it a little bit. He talked about just the speed of everything, felt fast tonight. And that's what these like preseason games are for, right? You get the early game jitters out of the way, get used to the speed of the game. I definitely anticipate, him continuing on that upward trajectory. But, defensively, I thought that the starting secondary did a really nice job setting the tone. Juan Thornhill made that awesome play, hit over the middle. The Jags are trying to run a little drift post off play action. He comes out of center field, lays a nice hit on Brian Thomas Jr. to kind of dislodge the ball, force an incompletion. Got the sideline hyped up. Everybody's, loving that. And that's one thing about Juan, like when he's playing in the middle of the field, like he is a guy that like when he has the opportunity to lay a big hit with the ball in the air, he will do that. That was even something, even though I thought his Browns tape was really disappointing, like in terms of laying big hits, like on collision, he could definitely do that for you. And I put him in my dudes column or my dudes section of the Dudes and Does column that I write for SteelersNow.com after every single game. And that was really a reflection, not just he didn't play a ton last night, but not really just for that performance in general, but just I think he's had a really strong training camp from everything that I've heard. He was really excellent the 3 days that I was there as well. So early returns been really good. They're going to be dependent on him to play a good amount. And I just think that the secondary depth in general has been an overwhelming positive. It just looks so much better than it did a year ago. And part of that reason is for Brandon Echols. I thought he was actually the best player on really either side for either team last night. Really excellent job. He made a nice open field tackle. They ran a screen to his side. He did a nice job taking on that block with physicality on a play that I thought Beanie Bishop should have made really behind the line of scrimmage. And then really he had that pass breakup. They're trying to make it look like man coverage on third down. He ends up they bail out to cover 2. He's like the cloud corner. He did an excellent job like midpointing the smash concept. So they're trying to get him grabbed down with a little hitch route, run a corner behind him. And he did a really nice job sinking, getting depth, playing the ball at the apex. And unfortunately, the only thing he didn't do right was just come away with the interception. But Echols continues to impress. I think it's, having him as a fourth cornerback, I don't really know what that's going to look like in terms of his deployment in the regular season, how much playing time he's going to get on defense. But at the same time, like having a guy like that you can trust to throw out there on the boundary is invaluable, man, especially when you've got some older guys like Slay and Ramsey, not just like not playing in the preseason, but, it gives you a little bit built-in insurance for injuries and age and things like that as we approach the regular season. But I've been really impressed with Echols so far this summer. So those were definitely good things to see for the most part. I thought Cole Holcomb physically looked good. I just wanted to see how he was going to be moving in a live action setting like that. And I thought, he was involved in some bang-bang collisions, forced a couple incompletions. Forced a couple of completions, drops, same thing. We'll give him credit for it. But overall, I just think he looked good from a physical perspective. I thought just some of the other things, like we saw some into the roster kind of guys make some nice plays. Max Hurleman continues to make plays. That touchdown that he scored, I saw that route combination no less than like a dozen times in the 3 days I was at camp. It's a little now slant, and then a little racer route to the pylon, and did a nice job. The backflip was cool too, so good for him. Keyshawn Williams made a really nice grab on that go ball. The ball was actually left a little bit inside from Thompson, but he gave him a nice chance to go up and get it. But Williams is another guy. He's got some return man ability too. He's kind of shifty, so he made some plays while I was at camp. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on him, like Rock Taylor, those guys fighting for those practice squad spots for sure. Just in terms of like negatives or things, that I'll be watching for just as we kind of go through these last couple preseason games. I thought the pass rush was really underwhelming early on, especially in the first half. Jags quarterbacks, especially Mullins, just had way too much time back there, clean pockets to kind of survey and move the ball down the field through the air. I thought in general, a really quiet debut, really for the Steelers rookie pass rushers. Derek Harmon, I think his only real pressure and his best rep was unfortunately on that play that got wiped away, the interception that got wiped away via penalty on Loudermilk. But it's kind of a slow start a little bit. Kind of wanted to see a little bit more flashing from that. Sawyer and what as well. Both of those guys at least made plays in the second half. Sawyer had the really nice rush on the final rep of the game, but for the most part was pretty held in check from a pass rushing standpoint too. They did throw some like chips. It seemed like the back was kind of escaping, opposite with DeMarvin Leal, who's not really an edge rusher, playing on the other side. So the good news is that those guys got a ton of playing time. I thought it was very interesting to me that Tomlin left most of like the quote unquote like starters in this game, um, in the game up until like the third quarter. They came out at halftime, still put them back in the game. They played well into the third quarter. I just think that those reps are really, really valuable for young guys like that. And it was cool to see them get those chances. I was kind of hoping that we were going to see YA Black a little bit earlier than what we really did. But I did see him have one nice play as well. He's somebody that I honestly didn't get as much eyes on. I want to go back and watch the film on that. But yeah, I'll be going back to see, those three guys, like what the pass rush plan look like, the film and everything, kind of where they need to go, how to build off of this kind of performance. And then just in general, the Steelers didn't run the ball extremely well. Most of that came with like the second team offensive line. I thought the backup offensive line was a really big like eyesore last night. A lot of times where I felt like the Jags in the trenches were able to kind of reset the line of scrimmage and create like immediate push into the backfield. I thought the Steelers backup left guard Doug Nestor really struggled in that regard as well. I thought Connor Hayward really struggled as a blocker. Again, these aren't necessarily guys that they're going to be relying on to contribute offensively, but the depth pieces, I don't necessarily think they had their best showing last night. The backup tailbacks, I thought, had nice individual moments. Trey Sermon, Lou Nichols, those guys creating on their own. And it was nice to at least see the offense, even though it was like a very vanilla game plan, a lot of stick, verticals, play action, some old classic Shanahan high cross concepts. I just thought it was, in general, it was nice to see them get a couple successful screens. We saw the screen for the touchdown to Sermon, and then the fourth quarter, they had another successful screen for a first down. So haven't seen a lot of those in recent years. Haven't heard about a lot of them in training camp either. They kind of struggled, especially in that regard when I was there. So it was good. I think the other thing with just the pass catching element, I thought Caleb Johnson, the one drop that he had was kind of just an example of, him trying to make something happen with the ball in his hands before he actually secured it. But he did make a nice grab. The second catch that he had was kind of like low and away. So I'm not necessarily worried about the hands. I just think I want to see more in terms of that type of use. It's just going to be a way for him to get on the field. He's going to have to be a reliable check down option and a pass protector. Pass protection wasn't anything like negative. I want to go back and kind of watch those reps. I know he had one blitz pickup that was kind of crucial. I want to say it was on the touchdown to Hurlman. So I want to go back and watch that play too. So overall, not a ton of other takeaways than that. It was just really nice to be able to sit down and watch Steelers football. I thought it was a fairly entertaining game, not too sloppy, which was a good thing too. So definitely have a lot of content coming to you guys, both via written stuff and also like on the YouTube channel. So be sure to check all of that out. And also, just on your way out, let me know what you guys thought of the game, winners, losers, all that type of stuff. Just any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will holler at you guys very soon.